What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Hart for those of you that are new, and today I'll be breaking down this 5 game NBA slate we have here for Sunday night. Going to try to make this a quick video as I know it's the afternoon already, and these games start in a few hours here. But going to be breaking down my favorite plays, some core plays, build out a potential lineup for you guys, as well as go over some value plays. So make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, and let's get right into this breakdown. Also, for my Patreon, I know a few people have been asking. I will hopefully start that this week. So yeah, if you guys are members of the Patreon or you're thinking about joining, wait till I make that announcement that the Patreon's back up. It should probably be this week. So I'll make that announcement in my video as well as on Twitter. So stay tuned for that. But jumping into the slate here, just quickly wanted to touch on my lineups the past 2 nights. So 2 nights ago, I was able to cash. Obviously, nothing too crazy here, but the core plays and like the potential builds that we've been building so far have been really hitting. I think 3 out of the 4 days of the season so far the core plays have been fantastic. 2 nights ago, 5 of the plays that I went over in the early look build, I think 5 of them dropped like 50 bombs. As you can see here, solid lineup. Darren Sharp did not play at all. 54%. I think he only played 3 minutes. Yeah, so kind of screwed us there, even though there was no Claxton. They just did not look to him. They went small, but still, Dinwiddie, Scotty Barnes, Mobley, Fox, Brunson, all great for me there. And then last night, the core plays for me, I put up on Twitter were Drew Smith, Karis LeVert, Evan Mobley, Tyler Hero, and Scotty Barnes, and they're all really, really solid. And then I went with Brandon Ingram, super low owned. Actually had a really solid game, 26, 7, and 3, but obviously wasn't the best fantasy score wise. But Karis LeVert obviously was fantastic there. Drew Smith, wish he would have done a little bit better. Just couldn't really hit his shots. Was not really that aggressive, even with a bunch of people out. But still, 14 fancy points from a guy whose minimum price was still very solid there. Anthony Edwards with the snowflake there, very, very disappointing. What did he end up shooting? 7 to 15. Yeah, against the G League Heat last night. Very, very frustrating. But Mobley was great. Jovic was great for me. So obviously did not win a ton of money. Just got my money back. I was out for Halloween, so I wasn't going to be staying up to date with all the news, so just kind of threw it in a $2 single entry and got my money back there. But still nice to score 313 on the day. But jumping into the slate here, let's take a quick look at the uh, game totals. So Warriors Rockets 225 and a half, 6.5 point spread there. Hawks Bucks 238 and a half. That looks like a very, very solid game to target. Portland Trailblazers 76ers 216 and a half. Spurs Clippers 228 and a half, and then Lakers Kings 235. So two very, very solid game totals between the Hawks Bucks and Lakers Kings that we can look to for some of our players. So starting off, we'll go to Atlanta versus Milwaukee. On the Atlanta side, the offense is going to come through Trae Young, DeJounte Murray. I think DeJounte is a fine play there at 7,100. I mean, his upside should play mid 30s minutes. It's just one of those things. I never would go out of my way to play him, but if you kind of follow him at his price tag, don't mind that. I do like Trae Young. I like buying in on Trae Young, even though he's been terrible shooting the ball, as you can see. 4 of 19, 4 of 16, but still, first game, he still went for about 40 fancy points. And then the second game, still shot it terrible, went for 45. So he has a super, super high ceiling, has not been shooting the ball well, going against a tough defense here, but still, I think it's a very solid price tag for Trae Young, who we know is a pretty solid player, at least fantasy score wise. So really like him here in this spot. Clint Capella, I think it's a solid play. It's one of those things, the minutes aren't great. Seeing about 30 minutes a game. Does have some foul trouble, but I mean, he does have that double double upside. So it's one of those things. If you think he's going to stay out of foul trouble, I don't mind going to him here in this spot, but still, there's that risk, with having to guard Giannis. He will be pulled away from the basket, guarding Brook Lopez at times. So maybe his rebound numbers won't be the best. Who knows? But I think he's a solid play. And then for the wings here, it's kind of a hit or miss situation where it's like if you go to one, it seems like one of the others will, go off. And if you go to, it's just one of those things where any of these wings can go off. So we've seen the past, 2 games that it's kind of been Jalen Johnson is the best wing out of the bunch, playing about 30 minutes, has a very solid steering. He's one of those guys that does a little bit of everything, kind of like an Energizer bunny. He can go out, get rebounds, get points, assists, get some steals. So I think he's my favorite of the group. And then Bogdan would probably be the second favorite for me, 5,000, playing about mid 20s minutes. He'll be aggressive. He's a playmaker as well, can score. So I think those two are the favorites. They kind of stand out to me. Hunter, he has upside as we saw last game. Sometimes he is pretty score independent, but it seems like all these wings are playing about 30 minutes. And so it's kind of hard to love any of them besides Jalen Johnson is the best one. and then I'd say Bogdanovich, and then probably Hunter, and then I'd say Bay, who's been starting, but he has not been good at all right now. He might lose his starting job to one of the other wings, so he's more so of a stay away, but he does have upside, and he's 4,600, should be super cheap. They will mix in some AJ Griffin off the bench, but nothing too crazy there. Not a lot of value here for the Hawks. They're all kind of priced up, and it's pretty much just the forwards here that are pretty much the value. Okongwu, I think he's a solid option here. Very, very solid value play at center wise. Playing about 20 minutes. He's very, very foul prone, as you can see. 5 fouls the first game, 4 the second game. So it kind of limits his upside. But if Clint Capella gets in foul trouble, Okongwu will be the guy to go to off the bench there. So I actually think he's a very solid value at 3,500 if you need a cheap center option. Moving on to Milwaukee here. Giannis at the top. Obviously, a fantastic matchup here. Love Giannis as a spend up play. Same with Dame. I talked about how I really liked him as like a contrarian low owned play in that first game, and he went off for 57. And I know his price has come up, 9,600. I do think he'll still be pretty low owned. I actually love him in the spot here against Trae Young defense. They'll probably throw DeJounte Murray on him, but we know the Bucks, as we saw that first game, they love doing that double high screen up top, and it's either for Dame to shoot a three or he drives to the basket. So I really like those both at the top, Dame and Giannis. Chris Middleton is out, so they'll most likely start Pat Connaughton. Sure, they could start like a Beauchamp or Jamison Crowder, but we'll kind of have to wait and see for that. I'm assuming they start Connaughton, who'd be a pretty solid value there at 4,300. I'd still probably prefer going to one of the wings on the Hawks side, but still Connaughton would be a solid value. Brook Lopez, another one of those center plays. It's like you don't feel great playing him. You know, only saw 29 minutes. Is foul prone at times, but he can have those huge, huge monster games, hitting the threes, getting a ton of blocks, getting some rebounds. So I actually like him there if you want like a contrarian center option who does have some big, big upside. Bobby Portis, another one of those energy guys off the bench. Saw about 20 minutes, which you would like to see a little bit more. Sometimes his minutes are, kind of in flux. Maybe it helps out a little bit that there is no Chris Middleton. Not like Bobby is a direct sub for him, but still, I do think they can kind of spread out those minutes to Bobby Portis there. So hopefully he pushes for 25, but I think we can at least expect 15 out of him, which still 5,100 is a very solid option for a guy that has a huge, huge ceiling. Malik Beasley will start. He'll get some open threes. He should play about 25 to 33 minutes. I think he's okay. Don't feel great about him. He'll be pretty low owned, but still he comes in a price tag that I'd rather get to like those Hawks wings or some other plays on the slate. Campaign, not seeing a ton of minutes. I mentioned Pat Connaughton, Crowder will play mid 20s minutes. I think it's fine value there at 4,000. Even better, with Chris Middleton out, and then Beauchamp. I guess he's a fine value play as well down there. Not going to be super aggressive. I'd rather get to Connaughton or Crowder, but he is down there. Moving on to the Warriors versus Houston. Obviously, a great game here. Steph was questionable. Now he's probable. Obviously, love him here in this matchup, 9,400. I think Chris Paul is a little bit, too cheap as well. I think his assist upside will kind of come down a little bit now that Draymond Green should be good to go here. So that's the big news here is Draymond Green. How many minutes will he play? If he plays 25 to 30, I think you can definitely get to him at 5,800, but you wouldn't feel great. But if anything less, I'm not going to get to him. It does hurt the upside. Obviously, you have Chris Paul there with Draymond Green, running the offense as well. So everyone, here in the mid range, it's kind of fine plays. Nothing really stands out to me. I do like Wiggins. His price tag 5,400. I had a decent bounce back game, but still doesn't look the best. Only playing 27 minutes, so really not sure what they're doing with the minutes with Wiggins. But right now, he's kind of stay away if he's going to get the mid 20s minutes. But he still has very, very solid upside at 5,400. So I'd still probably take a shot on him. But everyone else is kind of just fine plays. Nothing really stands out to me besides maybe Steph and Wiggins. Kuminga is questionable. Obviously, if he is out, I do think it would boost the minutes to Wiggins, who would probably see hopefully 30 plus. So stay tuned for that. Then if Kuminga is out, it should boost a few minutes to guys like Saric, Moody, Peyton, who are all fine. Value option plays. Nothing really too crazy down there. On Houston, talked about how I love Sengun the other day. 58 bomb there, so that's great to see. Obviously, the game went to overtime, so that helped out. But still, he has massive, massive upside. 7,500, great spot here going against Kuminga, Looney, Draymond Green. I still love the upside there for Sengun. Fred VanVleet, another one of those guys. It's nice to see him bounce back here. First game did not look the best. Second game, obviously overtime, but still went for a 53 bomb. We know he has very solid upside there. And he gets a little bit better of a matchup with a small guard and Steph. So I do like these two at the top. Jalen Green does feel a little bit too cheap here. Should play, mid 30s minutes. He'll be super aggressive. It's just one of those things. He is pretty scoring dependent at times. So that's the only downside with him, the risk there. Jabari Smith does feel too cheap. So I like these Rocket players all once again. Great matchup here. All feel a little bit too cheap. So all four are definitely in play. Don't think I'd get to Dylan Brooks there. Thompson comes off the bench, plays about low teens minutes. He looks okay as a value. They'll throw in some Deshaun Tate as well as Reggie Bullock, and it's just very gross in terms of the bench. No real standout value plays. Really, just sticking with the main starters there. On to Portland versus Philly here. So for the Portland side, the big news here is Anthony Simons is out. The biggest beneficiaries of that is going to be where do you go? Shaden Sharp, who moved in the starting lineup, he was super aggressive there, 9 to 23. So he looks like a great play at 6,000. Even if there is a blowout risk, he should play a good amount of minutes. Ayton, don't love the matchup here for Embiid. Had a nice bounce back game there, 30 minutes, 14 and 15, 14, put up 14, 15. But obviously not a great matchup here going against Embiid. So more of sort of a stay away from me, but he would be a solid contrarian play if you're looking to go that route. I do like the upside here for Jeremy Grant. Had monster games last year. I know he'll probably get traded here. He just really doesn't fit on this team who are looking to go super young. But yeah, he's monster upside there. Haven't seen it yet, but still, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes for like 30 plus fantasy points in this spot here. Probably 35 plus, 60 to 100. They need a monster game from him to stay in this game here. So I do like in risking going with him right now. They're at that price. Scoot Henderson, he's just been super, super foul prone, has not been the best. So that's kind of limiting his upside. But if he stays out of foul trouble, he should see probably 30 plus minutes. He's going to shoot the ball 10 plus times. So I do think he comes in at a solid price tag. It's just, he's dealing with those rookie mistakes and fouls. Brogdon will play off the bench. Saw 31 minutes. I think is a very solid play there. 5,000 does feel a little bit too cheap there with no guards. So I know we're stacking up on Portland, but they're all coming in at very, very solid price tags there with no Anthony Simons. Robert Williams will play off the bench, about 20 minutes. I think it's a fine play. They will throw in some Kamara. I think it's a solid value there at 3,600. Not going to be too aggressive offensively, but can do a little bit of everything. And that's really it for the Trailblazers. No, Justin's not getting any minutes. Moving on to Philly here. Embiid at the top obviously looks fantastic here going against DeAndre and should be absolute Swiss cheese for him. Harden is questionable. No, it looks like he's out. So don't have to worry about Harden once again. Tyrese Maxey, fantastic price tag, 53, 57. I mean, he's going to be super aggressive. He's been super efficient as well. So his price hasn't moved. I'm not sure why. He's playing like a high 9K, 10K player right now. So once again, I love the price tag there of Maxey and just his usage. In terms of the rest of the team, they're fine plays. It's really just the Embiid and Tyrese Maxey show. Like if you want to get contrarian, sure you can go to Tobias, but he's not coming at a great price tag, basically $7,000. Same thing, Kelly Oubre is just super scoring dependent. 2 solid games in a row, but still he does have a pretty low floor there, just being very scoring dependent. But he'll be the main guy off the bench. So I guess if you want to go to him, you can. I don't love it. I still like Melton as like a solid contrarian player there. Just hasn't been the best the first 2 games. So if he can knock down the shots, he can definitely put up mid 20s, probably 30 plus fantasy points. So I still have some interest in him. Reed, not sure why he's $5,000. That's just way too expensive for a guy who's the backup center. And then they'll throw in some Beverly Tucker. It's just nothing too great there. Moving on to the Lakers here. Anthony Davis still very, very cheap here at 9,100. Great, great matchup here. Coming off a great game there. Love him. LeBron, 8,900. Just too expensive for me. They said he was going to be on a minutes limit. Played 35 last game, so I'm not sure what to make of that, but still, he does have that minutes limit risk. He's still been very solid in those minutes. It just, I don't love that price tag, paying 9K for a guy who does have that minutes limit. D'Lo, I think it's a very solid price tag. He's super aggressive, does a little bit of everything. I do like him there, 5,700. Reeves, solid play there, should be decently aggressive. Just never go on my way to play Reeves. And then Wood, his price has really plummeted, but still, I mean, he does have some upside there. If Anthony Davis gets in foul trouble, they could look to Wood, but you don't feel great about that. Prince, kind of dropped back down to earth there, 18 minutes, 0 of 5. That's the downside there with Prince is like he's very scoring dependent. If he doesn't hit his shots, he will get, really limited. Vincent, 4,000, had a solid game there, 35. That's kind of classic Gabe Vincent there. Mid 30s minutes, didn't shoot the ball great, but got some steals, assists, rebounds. So I think it's a fine value play at 4,000. And I still like Rui. His minutes haven't been great, only 12, but still, If someone gets in foul trouble in the starting lineup, they can definitely look to him off the bench there, 3,900. We know he has good upside. Moving on to the Kings here, Sabonis 9,900. I think is a fair play. As we know the upside there with Sabonis. I like Fox here in this matchup, going against Reeves or Russell or even Gabe Vincent. He should absolutely cook them. Coming off a great game there, almost a 40 bomb in real life points, 55 overall. So solid price tag there. Really like him. In terms of the rest of the team, it's kind of like the Hawks, where it's like Murray, Barnes, Monk, Herter, all solid price tags. But it's just one of those things. You never know who's going to go off. It seems like one goes off, the other do bad, and you just never really know who. Keegan Murray should be the safest of the bunch, so I don't mind him there. Monk, I do like him off the bench here, kind of like a microwave score. So you need him to hit shots for him to do well and get those minutes. Otherwise, he does have some pretty low floors. Herter looks like he might be losing his starting job. He's been terrible, but we know with Herter, he's just good shooter. Hasn't showed it right, hasn't showed it recently, but he does have some upside there. So I don't mind buying low in Kevin Herter because if he hits a few shots here, he will get his normal minutes, mid 20s to even 30 plus minutes. So I don't mind if you want to go risky going to Herter there. But they'll throw in some Duarte as well, who saw mid 20s minutes, who's kind of eating into Herter's minutes. And they did, play Sasha about 12 minutes, who's a shooter. So I don't think you need to get crazy with any of this value here, but they are definitely there if you're looking to get, pretty frisky. On to the Spurs and Clippers last game here. Victor, solid price tag here, 8,000. We saw the upside there that last game, 21-12, 3 blocks, 3 steals. He's been super aggressive, that last game, 19 shots. So I do like him here for his upside is still pretty cheap price tag there for him. Vassell, the main point guard, it seems like he is a little bit too score independent for me personally, but he's playing massive minutes, should be super aggressive. So I think he's a fine play. Same thing with Keldon Johnson. I think they're fine plays. I'd rather get to Victor, but they're both pretty solid in the mid range. Zach Collins, playing monster minutes. So I do have some interest in him. Another one of those guys that can do a little bit of everything. So he does feel a little bit too cheap for his minutes currently. And it does help, him playing alongside Victor. Victor gets a lot of the, the pressure and the looks, and it, helps Zach Collins be able to kind of play free flowing basketball. Trey Jones, he's there, 5,200. No real thoughts on him. Sohan, if he's going to continue to, playing the point, the minutes haven't been great, which I don't like to see, but he's still been, pretty solid in those minutes. So I still think he's a fine play, 5,100. It's just the minutes have not been the best. Devontae Graham should be back. If he's on no minutes limit, I do like him as a value play off the bench there. Should be, decently aggressive. But they will still have, Branham, Osman, Bassey, Doug McDermott. So you don't feel great about the value, but, there's some there. On to the Clippers here. For the Clippers side, Paul George looks really solid there at 8,800. I love Kawhi here in this matchup, 8,600, coming off a 50 bomb there. They should be able to feast against this team. Russ is there. I mean, he has upside, but you just never feel great going to him at 7,000 with, Kawhi and Paul George healthy. Zubac, I think is a solid play here. The minutes have not been great, but as you can see, 26 minutes, still went for 43 and a half in that first game there. But it's just the minutes. Can he get those minutes? We'll have to wait and see. Powell, solid play there off the bench. Played mid 20s minutes. He'll be aggressive. I just don't think there's a need to really get to any of these secondary plays here on the Clippers. It's really just the main two for me. And then if you are feeling a little bit frisky, you can definitely get to Russ and Zubac, who do have ceilings, but the minutes have not been great on Zubac, as I mentioned. And that's really it. No Terrence Mann, which should probably mean some more minutes for a guy like, maybe Batum. Maybe they throw some to KJ Martin. Nothing too crazy here in terms of Mann being out. Robert Covington's, I guess, okay value play. Right now, really like the price tag there on Kawhi. Leaves us with 3,600 left over, which is not the best, but as I said, we can go to Okongwu here, 3,500, and then 3,800 at the forward spot. Who do we want to throw there? Let's see what value plays we got. Osman playing, low 20s. I think that's a fine value play. Anything else down here sticking out? Nothing too crazy. I mean, Saric doesn't help that Draymond Green's back. So let's see if we can move someone around. Let's see if we can throw. I think Sharp has that eligibility. Yeah, he does. Let's go to shooting guard real fast. About 3,700 left over. Nothing too crazy there that we want to get to. What if we move Brogdon? See what point guard 3,700 left over gets us. Nothing too crazy. So I guess right now, we'll go to Brogdon. Shooting guard, we'll go to who do I have there? Sharp, sorry. And then for forward, we'll just go down to Osman for right now. So that's our look build. Make sure that like button, stay updated with the news, obviously, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.